Hi, my name is Mari Owens, and I'm here to talk about the public lecture on October 14th in the Koch Cloud Learning Undergraduate Commons at the Auditorium 144, where Adam Rees gave his lecture on the surprising history of the expansion of the universe, and the main conclusion I got from that is that the universe, its expansion is accelerating, which was honestly kind of threw me off because honestly, in the first place, I didn't even know that the universe was expanding. So that was not to only know that it was expanding, but it was accelerating, kind of threw me off. Um, we like he apparently did some math using like computer programs that helped that like to track like if the earth was decelerating, but apparently that he divided that by like over time, and apparently it showed that it was like actually negative, and that negative implication actually showed the opposite, that the universe is not expansion is not decelerating, it's actually accelerating. And I think I'm gonna just get into like the topic of like how the expansion universe kind of works, like from what I've kind of like looked up, it's like talking about like the Big Bang, and like from that like Big Bang idea that basically like this repulsive force from the Big Bang is kind of like pushing galaxies that were kind of like created by it further and further apart. And he also kind of talked about like this thing called like dark energy that kind of like, I don't know if it like kind of acts like as a repulsive force, but it just kind of helps with the repulsive force and like simply kind of just like filling the empty space and kind of just like pushing galaxies further and further apart. Um, Through an idea called redshift, which basically kind of talks about like you apparently like when things get like farther and farther away from like light, they kind of like go towards like the red side of the spectrum. I don't really understand that much about redshift, but it's kind of like an interesting idea, and I'm still kind of like learning that concept. I say another thing that like I didn't know off the top of my head from the lecture was like how they kind of like measure the distance from like galaxies. I'm pretty sure it was from like an Indian American scientist named Chandrasekhar, and it was called like the supernova limit or the Chandrasekhar limit. Basically, like the light given off by like a supernova, because like supernovas turn into black holes, basically. Um, yeah, like you have a dwarf star, and like when it reaches its end, it's gonna have supernova, so it's gonna like kind of explode, and then it'll kind of like the mass will kind of like collapse on itself, and I think that's how you get a black hole, basically. But like that basically kind of like basically like the light that from that supernova, like they can measure that like using like a telescope, of course, but like some kind of measurement. I forgot what it was, but it that like that light from the distance, like because light changes through like time, they can like measure how far away that is using like light years or distance like that, and that was a very interesting concept to me. And then they also talked about Einstein's cosmological constant, like a constant that kind of like explains some kind of unnatural forces in the universe, but it's like still kind of like an alien idea. And like it said, like Einstein initially threw it away, but then like when he kind of found out like the universe expansion was kind of accelerating, it kind of proved a lot of relations to that cosmological constant. So I don't know fully. Um, but yeah, it was very interesting. Honestly, it really kind of makes me more interested about like learning physics, since it kind of like helps explain like the natural kind of like, well, I guess you could more say like the maybe undiscovered like areas of like space. Since I always found space and the exploration of space really cool, but I was very excited to learn from it, and it really helped me grow and learn in the area of physics. I think that's time. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a great day. Bye.